I definitely just wanted to get a live stream in since we're at the very end of the month. And I wanted to be outside, sort of interacting with nature just a little bit. I do have a progress update on my human design series. So I did record the first video, but because this is something that's so new to me, it kind of felt like I had to do a lot of relying on notes, whereas I prefer to free flow. It just kind of works like that for me. So I might redo that. There's a couple other videos that I have shot, other content that I've created, and I'll choose and decide if that's going to be something that I make public or not. I just don't know yet. It's just going to depend on a couple of things. But outside of that, today what I wanted to talk about are the habits of high value women. And the reason that I thought this would be really, important for people to know is because for women, right, women would be able to know, yes, like these are habits and things that I can do in order for, me to be considered high value, right? Or this is what someone that is high value would do. For men, they would also know kind of what they want to gravitate towards. So knowing the habits that someone is doing, knowing what a person is actively engaging in, right? And being able to gauge their high valueness, I guess, with with what they're doing, right? So that way it's not just about talking, it's also about actions and proactivity. So a habit of a high value woman is that they prioritize physical health. So this could be, eating clean, this could be working out, this could be pretty much anything that has to do with their physical health and well being. It's something that's important to them because they understand that their body is a temple and they have to take care of themselves in order to be able to take care of others effectively, right? They also are really good at maintaining their mental and emotional wellness. This can happen in many ways. Aw, thank you. Thank you for the like. I appreciate that. Um, this can happen in many different ways, but basically anything that involves your emotional and your mental health, taking steps, this is something that they're going to do because they're very good at maintaining control and order. And that's something that attracts men to them is they're very good at maintaining order. They're very good at steering people, how they want to steer them for their betterment and also, for what serves the high value woman. Um, Another thing or another habit, I should say, not thing, a habit, is being a lifelong learner and always learning new skills. So, this is something because I don't think that your, degree or whatever is like, I think it's really impressive when people complete college and all of that, don't get me wrong. But there's other avenues of learning. There's other ways that you can grow a skill. There's other things you can do. You can learn a language. You could take a certification course on something that you're interested in. There's a whole bunch of different types of courses and certifications out there, and they literally are for everybody. So, a high value woman is someone who gives a lot about or cares a lot about learning, being their most effective selves, being the most educated that they can be in the moment, right? In order to be helpful to others. Or simply just because they want to level up with their intelligence and with, their rubber band being stretched a little bit. Okay. So, high value women are always respectful of themselves and others. So, maintaining respect, that is something that I think in this day and age, it's really easy to lose sight of that. It's really easy to not understand that without proper communication and proper um, like two people can be saying the exact same thing, right? And yet they're perceiving it on either end completely differently. Whether it's the language that someone else is using, whether it's, I mean, it could be a number of things. But oftentimes, people don't understand that there's certain things that other people find disrespectful. I personally have learned a lot about this these last 7 or 8 months of having this channel. And so what I chose to do is just do strict moderation. So that way I wouldn't have to worry about, anything that was still a little bit too much, like, just too much. And it made things a lot easier. But that was because I knew that, because I give respect and because I give my time and my energy and my money into doing, all these things, um, I deserve respect back. And it's not a question, it's a statement. It's something that I know and I acknowledge. And people can choose to acknowledge it or not, right? But that is how a high value woman is going to be thinking is okay, I want to be respectful of others, but I also want to be respected as well. And that's important to me because my value is so high. To have myself surrounded by people that aren't going to be respectful of me, it's just not worth my time or my energy, quite honestly. Okay, so another habit of a high value woman is having boundaries or just being able to say no. Being able to say no is something that probably will go across to high value men as well, because I will be doing that one too. Um, being able to say no is kind of a big deal because for a lot of people they do tend to get into that people pleasing, or even if they don't, people tend to overextend themselves, right? Because they feel this like incessant urge that they have to. You don't have to. I'm giving you permission, you don't have to. You don't have to overextend yourself. You don't have to put yourself in situations and in these positions where it's just too much and you're giving too much. Like, no, just say no. Literally, just say no. You can turn down invitations to things, to events, if it's not something that's going to serve you. You can choose to not go to, certain places or with certain people because it just doesn't align with you. And that's fine and that's okay. And sometimes it's like a learning process to get there. Absolutely. But saying no is definitely a habit of a high value woman, like for sure. Oh, thank you. Okay. So they know their value. Now, this does not mean that they are egocentric or narcissistic, okay? This does not mean that they are shouting on rooftops, I am woman, hear me roar, okay? It's not anything like that. Knowing your value is simply knowing your worth. That's simply, sometimes it comes down to calculating how much is your time worth, how much is your energy worth, and then how much is your money worth when it relates to those two things. And I think when you have a number down, a number that you're comfortable with, a number that sits right with you, you're like, oh, this is what I'm worth. Okay, so this is what I'm willing to do for this, or budgeting your time, right? Like, okay, this is what I'm willing to do. Thank you for this other thing. This is what I'm willing to do for that other thing. No, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do it because it's not going to serve me. It's not going to be a good use of the resources that I have. And there's mainly only three of them. So it's like, sorry, but never having to apologize. Being very clear, being very committed when you're speaking, being very confident, you know, it's just one of those things. I got distracted. Sorry, my son just texted me. So, high value women are authentic, right? Being authentic means being yourself truly. This is something that I've talked about quite a few times, but I cannot tell you how much authenticity means to people and how much it will mean to you to really get to know yourself fully and authentically. But with their behavior, high value women are just naturally like, they're just themselves. There's this ease, there's this grace with them because they don't have a problem trying to conform to certain molds that society has or trying to conform to really anything or anybody. They care about making sure that they're, taking care of themselves and they're staying in their lane and they're not really getting too involved with too much other stuff simply because it doesn't serve them with their energy, their time, or their money. um High value women have clear vision and goals. So this can look like a lot of different things, right? You can write out your goals, you can then put them into like baby steps and all of those things. You can absolutely do that. You can do a vision board, you can go on Pinterest, you can just make a board. There's a lot of different ways for you to be able to do this, to be able to see that, okay, these are the goals and stuff that I want to hit. Thank you. These are the things that I want to do, setting them and doing them, and having some type of motivation. I would suggest intrinsic motivation, but if you need even like external, you can use your phone. You can set yourself reminders. You can set yourself affirmations. I mean, it's crazy what we can do. We just don't really think about it sometimes. Like, okay, this is when this needs to be done. So, what am I going to do to get it done? Blah, 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 blah. And you go from there. I personally am very open. So, I like to have a vision board, have I have 2024, 2025, and 2026. And then I have all of my like goals and my stuff that I want to do, right? All on post-it notes on a poster board. So that's easy for me because it's just like, okay, I can totally see, you know, my vision. I can totally see my goals and I have it right next to my bed so that way there's no excuse for not looking at it. So sometimes high value women have to be a bit strategic with things. Um, Another habit too is that they contribute or give back to others. So this could be where they, maybe remember something that somebody has done for them in the past, whether it be a stranger or it be somebody they know, and they pay it forward. This could be volunteering their time into a cause or into something that they believe in, but definitely contributing by giving their time, giving their energy, and understanding that when it's coming from a high value woman, that means a lot. Like if they're gonna put themselves into your orb or into your organization or into whatever just to contribute, I mean, it's next level. Like what they must actually think of you because they don't just waste their time. They don't just waste their energy. You know, they don't waste their energy. Like they're not going to waste all of these things that are so important to them. They're not going to waste their resources because they know their value. And also, high value women tend to have a positive mentality. So that doesn't mean that their life is perfect. Everyone goes through ups and downs. Everyone has different experiences. Everyone has roller coasters and everybody has plateaus, right? But when it comes to those roller coasters and those plateaus, if you are able to maintain some type of positive, you know, mindset, some type of, changing of not overly criticizing and not overly, getting analytical, but choosing to see the goodness in whatever the situation is that you're experiencing. That's what a high value woman does. And that's a big one to look out for when it comes to women or if women are being self reflective. are you trying to surround yourself in positivity in your mind? Is your mindset a mindset of positivity, of abundance, or is it not? And that's just something that you can answer for yourself or answer for someone you're thinking of or whatever it may be. Okay. So they also surround themselves with positive influences. So this can be, in my personal opinion, this can be anything. So this isn't just about other people, but this also involves, as I've talked about before, the content that you're intaking. I mean, everything, what you're watching, what you're listening to, what you're reading. What are you like? What are you spending your time on? So the amount of time that you're doing that, and then when you're also watching a person or listening to a podcast, right? Is this information going to serve you in some way? Because there's a lot of different reasons, right? Like, especially when it comes to podcasts, there's, podcasts. For me, it's kind of like, I have like one go to, right? Necronomicon. And with them, I get to have that little bite of true crime. But then I also get a whole bunch of funny and a whole bunch of, comedy and stuff. So while it may not be for everybody because they get wild, but that's the whole thing, is being well and staying wild, is like having and accepting those parts of you. So surrounding yourself with positive influences, always think about what you're intaking, always think about the people that you're around, that you're surrounding yourself with, and also check and see, is this just my perspective? Like, is my perspective what needs to get a little bit fixed? Because oftentimes we're really quick to blame others and say, oh, they're bringing down my energy. Well, you're allowing them to bring down your energy, in all sincerity. I had to learn that because I used to blame a lot. Like back in the day, I was like, oh, it's this and this, oh, it's that and that. And then I was like, if I just take accountability and responsibility for the way that I'm feeling and my emotions, I feel so much better about myself. And I realize that no one can take something from me because I'm not readily giving it to them. Okay. Um, So, high value women are supportive and loving, right? So, emotionally supportive, very loving, whether like whatever type of relationship it is, right? You can have a partner, you can have children, you can have friends, you can have family, whatever it is for you, right? If you're a woman listening to this or watching this, I mean, um, high value women are just supportive and loving. Now, that doesn't mean that they're supportive at the risk of themselves. So, what I mean by this is if there is any type of situation where there is abuse or there is stuff like that going on, they're not going to be in that situation. Like, they won't even allow themselves to be in that type of situation. Maybe in the past, but not now, not in the present moment. As a high value woman, they're not going to be in that kind of you know sphere that orb of unnecessarity. That's a word. I just made it up. Unnecessarity. We got that now. Okay. So high value women speak with clarity and purpose. So speaking with clarity and purpose is something that me personally, I struggled with for a very long time. When I was younger, I think I was like 12, maybe. No, I'm sorry. It was when I was 10. When I was 10, what happened is we moved. And I was so upset about us moving. It was like 4 hours away. I was so upset. I was so frustrated. And I developed like this stutter. So, talking to new people, saying my name, I had trouble saying Jennifer or Jenna or Jen or Jenny or all the names that I get called by all these different people. So, it was like, like I couldn't formulate a my own name. So I felt like nothing. I was like, oh my goodness. Well, when I got into high school, there was two speech classes that I took because I took them at different schools at that time. And one of the speech classes I ditched. I went to it one time, one time. And after that, I left. And I would go to the gym and I wouldn't go back to speech class because I was like, yeah, okay, no, I don't need to be in speech class. I don't want to stutter. But that's really what it was, is I didn't want to stutter and mess up in front of all these people. And then at the next year when I had to take speech, I actually was able to present something in front of like multiple classes, and it went really well. So that taught me, okay, I can learn to manage and get over a stutter. I can learn how to manage something that I'm uncomfortable with and about myself. I can fix it. That's what it taught me. It's like, but I have to go into that fear mode, into that paradigm of like, okay, this feels really uncomfortable, but I know it's going to ultimately mean growth, right? So high value women have no problem with that, and they have no problem communicating. They're also active listeners. So they will be the ones not to be like oversharing and giving all of this, all of this stuff about themselves, right? But what they'll be doing is when they're with a person one-on-one or in a group of people, they'll actually be engaging and by listening and then waiting to say something only when they feel as if it would be relevant or helpful. Okay, just make sure the microphone was on. Only, if it's going to be relevant or helpful or make sense in this conversation, or make sense to these people or to this person, right? So listening actively is something that is difficult for a lot of people, but it is possible to be able to achieve. I'll say it that way. Maybe I'll make a video about it. um, Also, high value women, they like authenticity. Why? Because they themselves are incredibly authentic. They're very much themselves. They don't really need to cast this like BS. They don't need to be a certain type of way. They're not going to pander to different types of people. I think we all know people like that they're like a chameleon, right? They shift from person to person to person. A high value woman isn't going to do that. She's going to be the same person no matter what, right? Maybe they'll compartmentalize certain things, okay? I'm not going to say they won't, but they're still going to be the same across the board because they're happy with themselves and they know what they're worth and they know their value. They also are really good about keeping promises. So if you've ever heard someone say like, oh, I'm going to do this, and then you never hear a follow-up about what's going on with that particular project or whatever it is that they were talking about. Or if there's, talking about saying that they'll be somewhere at a certain time, or they'll be somewhere whenever, and they're habitually late. So that's not a habit of a high value woman. That's someone that actually is a little bit disrespectful towards your time and your energy. When people are late, that's one thing that is just kind of like, I understand when there's traffic, I understand when there's other external things going on, but we also have our phones and we have our GPS that tells us like everything. So, I mean, the argument could be made either way. But when people are habitually late, especially when it's like excessively late, I've coached clients that if they're going on a date or a meetup, if it hits the 15-minute mark and the person isn't there, just go ahead and leave. If they haven't tried to communicate with you on their phone, although I'm kind of glad because hopefully they're driving, then okay. But no, 15 minutes, you're out, because it's not worth you wasting more than 25% of 1 hour. Okay, so another great thing about high value women and a habit that they really have is they bounce back from challenges. So they don't let these obstacles, these situations keep them down. They keep on rising up and they keep on coming back and they keep on just going forward. They don't let anything stop them. And what they do is they build their resilience. Um, they also learn from their failures, right? So, obstacles, challenges, straight up failure, right? So, a straight up failure could be something like this that you get from attempting a box jump when maybe like your balance wasn't ideal. But that's okay, whatever. I was still pushing my limits. I was, trying to do something. But when you fail at something, it doesn't necessarily make you a failure, right? And high value women understand and know this. You're not a failure. It's just something that you tried or didn't work out at that time in that moment. This moment is just now. Just like this moment is just now. It's not forever. It doesn't go on and on and on unless you allow it to go on and on in your head and you have like that loop that you're dealing with, but hopefully not. Okay. And they are really good. High value women have a habit of being really good at creating balance. So what does that mean? What it means is that they can create balance with their work life, their home life, and their, relationships, their, going out time, or the way that they handle multiple situations. They can handle all of these situations with grace because they're handling it from a balanced point of view, right? They're looking at everything and they're like, okay, this is how I can do all this. If I'm spread too thin, I'm not doing it, right? We have our own reserves, our own stores of our energy. Yes, of course, we can make more, but it's not always easy when you're in the moment and you're trying to kind of get that high frequency energy going again. And it's like, it's just not there. And it's like, that's okay. It doesn't have to be there all the time. It's just about trying, it's just about doing the very best that you can. So, there's that. All right. So another consistent habit of high value women, excuse me, is how they dress and present themselves well. So this doesn't have to mean that someone's always in a dress. This doesn't have to mean that someone always has their hair perfect. No, but what it does mean is that they look together. They look, like, okay, it's a look, or okay, it's a style, that they have this idea of their authentic selves and that they're able to show that through what they're wearing and the makeup they wear and the way that they do their hair. And that they just want to look nice as much as possible because that's just their standard. Now, this doesn't mean that it's a standard that they are going to hold everyone in the world to, but more than likely they are going to hold this standard to their partner or to, try to engage family members, right? And maybe like stepping the game up because, oh, thank you so much. That's very kind. I appreciate that. Thank you. So, again, it's not just about being in a dress. You can, be in jeans and a t shirt, right? But it's just about presenting yourself well. That is a big habit. And another thing, too, about this is even if you're not going to leave your house, still going ahead and doing it anyways. Even if you're not going to leave your house, you never know. You might just feel better. You might feel more inspired. You might feel more creative. You might feel more energy to be able to do the things that you need to do, even if it's just being at home. But there's a lot of people that work from home as well too, so it's helpful. It really is. Okay. So, another thing about high value women is that they encourage others. So, it's never going to be about tearing other women or men down. It's going to be about trying to uplift as much as possible and also trying to engage and to be able to have a discussion, to be able to have, someone be able to kind of, if they need to spill their guts, they can spill their guts. And this woman is not going to like turn them away or anything like that unless it's crossing a boundary for them or something along those lines, basically. So, but they're always encouraging other people. They're always people's cheerleaders, not because they want to people please, but just because it's in their heart. It's what's aligned to them in their heart. They also experience intentional discomfort. I almost feel like intentional discomfort should probably be its own separate video. So, okay, practicing intentional discomfort. So, earlier, what I was talking about when I had my stutter and I had my, like, had the speech impediment, you could say that me getting up and doing that speech that next year and all the practicing and all the feelings of discomfort and fear that were happening, that all of that was intentional. And there's been a lot of other things in my life where it's like, and even now, where it's like, okay, I understand that I actually do need to be practicing this intentional discomfort. It means that I'm growing, it means that I'm expanding. And that's what it means for everyone, whether you're a woman or a man. When you are feeling uncomfortable, when you're doing something new, when you're learning something new, when you're experiencing something new, or when you're really doing a deep dive into something that is super interesting to you and you're just learning more, you're growing and expanding. But if you know that you have a fear of something in particular, a little bit of exposure therapy can do wonders. Just a little bit. I'm not saying if you're afraid of water to go walk into the ocean, okay? All I'm saying is think about the little steps that can be taken where you can put yourself temporarily for a short amount of time if you need it to be like that, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then working your way up, but being intentionally uncomfortable in order to help and shape you and to help you grow. It is huge. It is such a amazing habit to participate in, something I encourage my clients to do, and it's challenging, but it's definitely worth it because you're able to overcome so many things that you never thought in a million years you'd be able to overcome. All these fears and stuff, they seem silly. It just seems like it's ridiculous. Like, why was I afraid of that? What was I holding on to? All right. And then the last thing that I have in my notes for high value women is that they reinvent themselves regularly by growing and changing or even transforming. Okay. So this can look like a lot of different things. This could be the way that whatever they're expanding as far as knowledge goes. This can be in their demeanor and the way that they carry themselves and hold themselves. Maybe they've, continued to grow and develop in their confidence. Um, this can look like a change as far as how they dress and the way that they're allowing other people to see themselves. And it's very similar to like a butterfly, right? You start out as a caterpillar and then you become a butterfly, right? But this is something that can keep happening. So it's like then the butterfly goes back to a caterpillar and then goes back to a butterfly. That's probably the best example I can give you. So it's an evolvement. It's evolving. It's learning your style, or it's learning your just who you are, right? As a high value woman, once you know more about yourself, once you've, understood like, oh, okay, like I get this. maybe you want to switch up your style. Maybe you want to cut your hair. Maybe you want to grow your hair out. Maybe you want to just go and like immerse yourself in a different culture entirely, there's so many different things that you can do when it comes to regularly evolving and regularly transforming, and having that also be a goal, I think, across the board, just for people in general. Because this is the thing, the world is always changing, always. Okay, the world is always changing. So don't you want to change yourself? Hey, Danny. Hi. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad you're here. It's changing. So the world's changing. Do you want to stay the same? The thing that comes to mind for me is Wally. How Wally's kind of like left behind, okay? And everything's just, aw, thank you, Danny. You too. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a good weekend for sure. And I hope everybody has a great Labor Day weekend. If you're in the US. So, but with Wally, kind of like the robot left behind a bit. Hey, Samir, how are you? So thinking of it like that, like, do you really want to, not, it's not about going with the crowd, right? A high value woman isn't trying to go with the crowd, isn't trying to go with the trend. She's simply being authentically who she is in that moment, right? And what that means is, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad you're doing good. Um, it's just, she just knows, right? She's just like, okay, I just want to change this, or okay, I'm going to go do this, and I'm going to maybe be a little bit of a different person. It's kind of like when you learn a new language and your brain starts to think a little bit differently because of that language that you've immersed yourself in, or that culture that you've gone to immerse yourself in. Hi, Samir. I'm from Texas. Yeah. So, it's just, again, one of those things where when you see that, when you see someone that's habitually evolving and habitually changing, you know that they're a high value woman. So, for men get after women like that. Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool. Like, now kind of the habits to look out for, what to go after. For women, it's about, these are the habits that the high value women are doing, and it's just information and knowledge. That's all that it is. And all of these are pretty accurate based on life experience and just being a coach and all those things. So I know that it's something that people are like, oh, thank you. I appreciate that. It's, yeah, I just kind of have my hair like in a braid and stuff. I had hairspray in last night and I was like, oh. So I just put it in a braid. It's fine. But thank you. Um, so, just knowing like, okay, these are the habits, these are the things that this type of woman is doing. If I want to be a high value woman, then I know what I need to aspire to and what habits I need to be cultivating, right? And being honest with yourself too about, well, am I in a wounded energy? And if you are, then finding a way to fix that, finding a coach, finding some type of solution, doing inner work, whatever that may be. I'm always going to be fronting the inner work because it changed my life and it's changed my clients' lives, and it can definitely change and improve yours. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna say I think my favorite thing on here, my favorite habit. Oh, thank you. I sing too, actually, but I'm not going to. That's my boundary. Um, I think the evolving is my favorite because I've seen it in women that I know that are like really high value. They are constantly evolving, but it's not just about the physical, right? It's about the mental. It's even about sometimes the spiritual. And it's really hard for people to talk about the spiritual in this day and age, which is totally okay, which is why I always just say in my yoga videos and things like that, I say just trust in your higher power or trust in the universe. And hopefully people understand what I mean, right? Whatever that is for them, then that's what it is, right? We all have our own realities. We all have our own perspectives. And the way that I'm saying things right in this moment is not going to hit everybody the same. And that's okay. That's just how it works. you know, we're all very different. And what I wanted to portray with this live stream was while we all may be different, there are things that make a person be considered higher value, be considered not to be in their wounded energy. And when you're in your wounded energy, you're going to just be constantly repelling. And that's wounded feminine energy or wounded masculine energy. It's either way, right? When you're in that, you're in a victim status type of situation. And I think that's like killing killing the country a bit. All this victimization. But outside of that, if you just want to increase your value, if you just want to for yourself, not for anybody else. Oh, I don't think that's relevant. um, then no, I lost my train of thought for a second there. Sorry, guys. Okay, so I do have to volunteer today. So I have a couple of minutes. If there's any questions or any comments that anybody wants to bring up, that's what I'm here for right now. And then if not, I can always end this, quick. So it's no big deal. Do you feel like you have a story or something you want to share with me for a bit? By all means, I am open to that. But I will not take questions on my height or my weight because I think it's unimportant. It's one of my boundaries. And I also think too is being able to sit, and understand that not everyone is on the same like we aren't all playing the same game, right? Some of us are playing another game and some of us are playing another game. And then there's some people that aren't even playing a game. They're just trying to share and be informative and be a guide. So that's all that it is, right? It's a lot of not allowing energy to that's fine. I appreciate that. And I think that that's a problem too is when we're coming to talking about our boundaries and things like that, people don't know what they are, right? People don't know individually what people's boundaries are. So of course they're going to be crossed. All you can say is, hey, this is crossing a boundary for me, for whatever that reason may be. You don't have to give the reason, but you just have to say, like, hey. And if that person is like, oh, my bad, I just didn't know. Oh, I'm sorry, I just didn't know. It's like, oh, okay, right? Then let's go into a place of like, everything's fine. Don't even worry about it. That was in the past already, right? Because right now is now. Now is now. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's in the past. So, but we don't have a lot of that. We don't have a lot of that like immediate like forgiveness or that immediate fixing of communication, right? Because oftentimes this is what happens is we get into these so I started as a yoga instructor when I first began my career in the fitness industry. And from there, I got my personal trainer certification. I got my health coaching certification. I got a whole bunch of certifications. I got my CFL1, which is for CrossFit. And And then I was working on one for precision nutrition, I believe. So because I wanted to get more into the like nutritional side of things, but then I decided this probably isn't the right fit for me. So but yeah, and then I just kind of found wellness coaching along the way. I was a date coach for Match.com, and it was if you can go back to 2020 reviews on Match, you would probably find a variation of my name on there. Like, oh, okay. Like in the reviews, we had to ask for reviews at the end. It was very telemarketer. Oh, hey Mac, how are you doing? Aw, thank you so much for the like. I appreciate you. So, excuse me, good day. No, good day to you, sir. um, so coaching, instructional stuff. Okay, I'm glad to hear that. I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. We're kind of getting close to the end of this live stream. I'm just kind of answering questions. Yeah. Yeah, so you'll probably have to go back for the thing, but I guess I can do a recap really quick. So what it was is habits of high value women. Okay, so the recap was that they prioritize physical health, they maintain their mental and emotional wellness, they are lifetime learners and they develop new skills, they're respectful of themselves and others, they know their boundaries and how to say no without any guilt, they know their value, they are authentic to a T. They have a clear vision and goals. They contribute or they give back to others, whatever form that may take. They have a positive mentality. They surround themselves with positive influences, which this also means what you're watching, hearing, right? So, podcasts, videos, movies, television shows, music, all of it, right? It's just surrounding themselves with a positive influence, not necessarily just a person. They're supportive and loving. They speak with clarity and purpose. They're active listeners. Thank you so much, Mac. Yeah, I'm just recapping this and then I'll pop off. I'm just trying to. Did I miss any of them? Thank you so much. You too, honey. They keep their promises, they bounce back from challenges, they learn from their failures, they create balance, they dress and present themselves well, they set high standards for themselves, they encourage others, they experience intentional discomfort. So, super important, right? Intentional discomfort. I'm going to do a video on this. I'll do like a deep dive because I really think this is super important information. And then they reinvent themselves regularly by growing and changing, evolving, transforming, and that can be in a whole bunch of different arenas. Okay. So, yes, I do have to go now because I need to go in for volunteering. Well, not need to, I choose to. I just love volunteering where I volunteer at. It's so much fun. Oh. All right, y'all. Well, thank you so much for joining me on today's live stream. It really makes my heart full when I have my regulars joining. I'm like, thank you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and or join. I am working on creating content, like even more content for the membership, the exclusive one. So I'm excited about that. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and so we'll just see what happens with that. But please also share with people that you know, right? I would love to keep on increasing my subscribers because then that's just more people that I can reach and I can help, whether it be through yoga or whether it be through a live stream or just a regular video. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much. I will see you on the next live stream. Be well and stay wild. Oh, God bless you too, honey. Bye.